Hey everyone, Irene Lyon here. Welcome to this video, to this channel, and to this entire world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. Today I have a interview chat for you to take in and watch with one of my alumni. Jenn is her name, from the eastern parts of Canada, Prince Edward Island. And I was thrilled to talk with her. I just got off the call with her. And so I wanted to mention two things in this intro video, actually three things. One, there might have been some scratchiness with our audio and video. We'll see how it comes out. So thank you for your patience if there's some elements that aren't clear. I think the message will come through fairly well, and we'll put captions below as well. The second thing that I wanted to mention is Jenn started this work back in 2015-16 with me. And of course, I'm dating this. It is the year 2022. And this is just it's such a testament to how important it is to continue and to grow and to just become more and more skilled and masterful at our nervous system healing and nervous system health. And we talk about that in this discussion. And then the final thing I'll say, and again, this is time sensitive, I've been releasing some of these chats with my students more so now, because once a year we do open up registration for SmartBody SmartMind. This is my online group course that we only run once a year. The course is yours for life when you enter and you're a member, but we are in live session, live semester from March through to the end of June. So this is the time to learn more about this course, ask questions, watch this talk, watch some of the other talks with my alum. And thanks, Jenn, for coming on and sharing your story. I know that many of you will love this story, and I hope will be inspired for your own healing journey. Have a watch. Hello. Jenn, welcome.
Thank you, Irene.
To my living room.
It's a familiar space for me.
I guess, yeah, you see this a lot.
Yeah.
So for everyone watching this video, I am speaking with Jenn, one of our SBSM alumni, and we actually connected via TikTok, out of all crazy places. So, and what I obviously caught my eye, and I hardly get any messages on TikTok, so I was like, oh, someone sent me a message or someone commented. And you had said in one of your comments to me that this work, the work that you did this year, or last year, I guess it is now, with SmartBody SmartMind was just life-changing. And I hear that a lot. And it seems sometimes too good to be true for some people who have never done this work. So would you mind sharing just a little bit about what you were up to, what were you doing before you stumbled into this nervous system work? Then we'll just go from there.
Awesome. I found your work first in 2015 or 2016, and I'd been high functioning, but from a place of trauma. And
Right.
my body had shut down because I had ignored the messages for long enough. So I was stuck at home and I was searching desperately for any solution. I couldn't get help from allopathic medicine. I felt stranded, and I'd really resigned myself to accepting that at 32 my life was over. And so when I came across your work, I started watching you on YouTube, and I signed up for what used to be the New Inner Game back then.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and you really opened the door to show me that recovery is possible, and a better relationship with myself was possible. And I took it to heart when you said this is slow, long-term work that you have to put into practice every single day. And I do. And because of that, I've gone from not being able to leave my home at all in 2015, 2016, to being able to confidently, safely, and in a regulated way interact with the outside world, as much as is possible these days.
Yes. That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, those listening who are new here, when I created my first online course, it wasn't what it is now. It wasn't SmartBody SmartMind, because things evolve and change and grow. And so even before the new inner game, I think my tiny little course was like called Stress Less, Sense More. And it was maybe only 4 weeks long. And then it just grew and grew. So that's great. For some reason, I had the impression, and I shouldn't have assumed, that you had started last year. But I love the fact that you started quite a few years ago, a handful of years ago, and you're still hanging in there. You're still doing the work, and you're on TikTok doing videos.
Keeps surprising me how this work plays such an important role in my day-to-day, how it's really taken me from a hopeless place to one of actively building the future I want for myself. And it's given me the tools to trust myself and continue growing a business and living life even after I thought it was done.
And may I ask, what were some of the, I know you mentioned it was tough to leave home and engage with the world. What were some of the actual, did you have any diagnoses by medical standards? What was going on in 32 and before?
I was trying to get medical diagnoses, but there's something like 18,000 people on a waiting list to get a family doctor here, so that was pretty tough.
Wait, did you just say 18,000?
Yeah.
So, and just, do you mind sharing where you are in the world, just so people in context know?
I'm in Prince Edward Island, Canada. My digestion had shut down completely. Like I couldn't even swallow water without being in incredible pain. And I was experiencing what was presenting as an allergic reaction to everything. I had to wear gloves, like I couldn't touch doors, nothing. And it took me 18 months to get in to see an allergist, and I had to travel out of province to do it. But in the meantime, I had this work to start calming my nervous system down. And over the years, I found that as I keep my nervous system in check, as I work on regulation, the less reactive I am. And my digestion is like night and day. I went from not being able to eat anything at all and trying to be vegan as much as possible. Like I could pretty much eat squash, sweet potatoes, and a couple fruit, and that was it. Anything else would come back up. And now I've gotten back into eating meat. My B vitamins are higher than they've been in the past. I feel better than I have ever felt in my life. And this ability to like stay in tune with my body and know when it needs rest has given me such a leg up in where I was in life. It's just completely changed everything about my day to day.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a common thing for those who haven't experienced health troubles like that. It's hard to understand that you can't drink water and you can only eat, like you said, a few foods. Was that true in your childhood and teenage years, 20s, or was there like a turning point for this to happen?
It was something that started in childhood. I had a lot of stomach problems, but they were mild enough for me to ignore. And that's what happened. I just kept ignoring until it was actually my husband's birthday, and I cooked him our favorite breakfast, and I couldn't take a bite. I just sat there and cried because the pain was so overwhelming. And what had happened was I had gone to work at a place that was nearby, a good paying job, and they were using substances there that were hurting me. And I knew this. They were causing rashes on my body, but the paycheck was so important that I continued to push and push and push until my body said no more.
No. May I ask what kind of substances? Was it obviously chemicals?
It was wheat.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was a wheat processing facility.
It was a fisheries plant. We were a land-based fish farming facility, and the feed is mostly wheat-based. And so it was on everything. It was in the air. It was on the walls, and I did as much as I could to protect myself, but it wasn't enough to keep it from just building up sensitivity in my body.
Do you think that it was the glyphosate, the chemicals on the wheat?
I imagine that was an enormous part of it. I believe I'm
Yeah.
celiac as well, but the glyphosate definitely decimated my microbiome.
Yeah, I've been learning more about that in the last year through the work of Dr. Zach Bush and just sustainable farming practices. And the more I learn, the more I'm seeing that, yeah, that those chemicals to grow these massive crops, it gets into the gut and it destroys the lining, the tight junctions that we need to properly digest food. So that makes complete sense. Um, okay, so you couldn't eat your husband's beautiful breakfast that you cooked for him. I gotta ask, what did you make?
Huevos rancheros.
That is good.
So good.
And my sense is you can eat them now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can eat far
Yay!
more things now. um, it was terrifying. I
And
lost so much weight, and I'm back up to full strength now, like my high school weight. And I will never try and lose weight ever again in my life. I like my body strong. I'm happy with carrying some mass.
yeah, no, you look vibrant and healthy. So it's so good to know that. I want to know if you're open to sharing. Was there a traumatic event? Was there just a string of chronic stress growing up, or do you think it was mainly I mean, you said your belly was off when you were a little girl, so clearly you weren't working in the fish farm then. Now, what do you feel now that you've learned more about your nervous system through the work and the course? Have you been able to kind of piece together?
So trauma started really early in my life, and perhaps one of the biggest aha moments I experienced was after I just encountered your work on YouTube, and I devoured a few videos, one of them defining trauma in a way I'd never come across before. And I woke up with this loud echoing thought in my mind one morning saying, there's not a day in my life I haven't been traumatized yet.
Whoa,
Whoa. Because the big ones started pre verbal, and it went from there.
got it. So it sounds like the education in some of those videos gave you a new definition for what trauma is. And there it was right in your face,
Yeah.
all these pieces. And so how did you process that? Was it like a holy moly moment, or like what went through your mind, your body when that kind of landed?
It was a big, big shock. And I don't think I would have ever had the capacity to understand or realize that if you weren't simultaneously opening the door for how to deal with it. Because there'd been something lurking and heavy my whole life, and it felt like I just had to hold it at bay, resist feeling any feelings, and that was the only way I was going to be able to keep moving forward. And of course, that's unsustainable. But you don't know that when you're in your 20s.
No, no. And so would you say now, Jen, that most of those traumas, those triggers, those pieces that was sort of part of your everyday life are fairly gone now? My sense is yes, but I just wanted to get your take on that.
Yes, absolutely. There's still things that pop up and surprise me, but my capacity to contain those emotions and feel like I have the ability to process them, the space to process them, the intelligence, the emotional intelligence to handle them. It's so much less jarring now when triggers do pop up. And I feel very integrated.
Beautiful. That word you just used, integrated, is so good. And what's really lovely to hear is it sounds like, and we don't need to know the specifics at all, but there was constant chronic stress in your world when you were really, really little, maybe even when you were in utero. It's quite possible. even in your ancestry, which most of us have in some way, shape, or form. And even with that, and even with the intense illnesses and sensitivities, you were able to bring real regulation back to your system and rewire that stuff pretty darn well.
Thank you. I've been able to help myself and other people in my life, which is probably the most gratifying part of this work, is because I can help the other people I love regulate from an informed place and a compassionate one, because I now see trauma in other people and recognize it for what it is.
Beautiful. And may I ask, what do you like? What do you do? What's your work? Are you working? What's your things? What do you love to do? I think I caught a little bit on your TikTok, but I don't want to make any presumptions.
In the summertime, I am a full-time gardener. I help other people with their gardens, and I'm also a part-time farmhand at a beautiful market-style garden farm, and a lot of hands in the earth type work. And in the winter, when it's too cold to be outside, I do intuitive readings, both online and in person, using oracle cards and just tapping into my own intuition and delivering helpful messages from a trauma-informed place.
And were you doing that before you came across this work?
Only for myself, not for other people.
Okay. And this is great because I know that I have some students and there's some peers in SmartBody SmartMind who are psychic healers and intuitive mediums. Janet Raftis is someone I've talked to before. I'm not sure if you've come across her videos with me. But what she has said, Jen, when she started to heal her nervous system, and she talks of some pretty big traumas that she had to live through and work with, is her intuitive capacities just skyrocketed. Have you found that as well? Tell me about that.
So people can bring whatever they have to the table. My big motto is come as you are. And I'm able to hold space for people who have really big things that they're going through in their life that maybe they can't bring to their friends, that maybe they haven't told anyone else about. And my intuition is, I'm so comfortable and confident with it and with how expansive it is that I know when I'm getting a message that's just for me. And I know when I'm getting a message that I'm meant to share. And I'm probably the most confident and regulated when I'm reading for people.
I feel that. I can tell just by talking to you, even though our video is a little crackly right now. What I've heard also again from our students and your peers, people that don't have a real connection to say soul or spirit or intuition, is as they start to get their physiology back online, they start to be able to listen to their organs better. They start to feel just by default more connected to soul, connected to spirit, and they start making better choices in all sorts of realms. And your share just kind of strengthens that a little bit more.
Absolutely. When you trust yourself and you trust your gut, you listen to it and make decisions based on it. And you stop saying things like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. And start just saying, this doesn't need to make sense. I trust myself. I'm going to bring an umbrella even though it's sunny.
That's a good one. It reminds me, I was just speaking to someone on another show, not mine, someone else's, a second ago. And one of the questions he had for me was, so how do you know when you need to do this work, or how do you, what are the tip-off signs? Because it's for you, it's so connected to your gut, right? Your gut went off, and now that gut is like your biggest ally and teacher. Um, I would love to know what, for someone listening to this right now, who's kind of wanting to get into this work and maybe they're not sure. One of the things we often get is, oh, my system is just too far gone. I've tried everything to try to heal. What would you say from your intuitive gifts, knowing the journey you've come through, to that person who really isn't sure that this is going to help them when they see you looking so vibrant and well and just grounded?
I know at my core that this work benefits everyone. That even somebody who believed that they are completely regulated all the time would benefit from learning from you. And as somebody who was at the brink and believed they were too far gone, this was the best path back for me. And I tried everything. But this was real. The education was real. The practices are real and easy to apply. You're so forward about telling us to take our time, to go slow, not to rush to be the good student out of a trauma response. That was a big one for me. And just there to confidently reassure us every step of the way. And you never claim to be the guru. You tell us to become our own guru of our own body. And that empowerment allows us to take small, continuous steps forward toward our own healing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And thank you for reminding everyone here about taking your time. And I love the fact, like I said a second ago, that you started this work back in like 2015, 2016, and here we are in 2022, which is crazy. And it's a testament of this long lifestyle, long term. I love conversations with my students who've been doing the work for this long, because it shows to others that this isn't a quick fix, that it isn't just the next fad, because those come up, that this is really getting us back to that core essence. Was there something within the program or within your journey, did you ever, what was one of the more challenging things in working with this? I like to ask that sometimes.
So there were two that I can think of. The first was the first containment exercise, because the response my body gave me blew me away. It was one of those situations where my dog was highly attuned to my needs and she just climbed up right beside me and laid down. But I cried like I probably haven't cried since I was a child. And it scared me a little bit at the time, but the way I felt afterward I felt really opened up. And I knew that I had to keep doing the work, but I also had to be very mindful of the pace I was going. So I stayed there, I think, for weeks, where I just would take a few days and try the containment exercise again. And once it had lost its supercharge, I knew I was ready to keep going. Yeah. And then again, I found the Feldenkrais portion difficult, because it took me a year and a half, maybe 2 years, to finally get to that felt sense of safety. And I knew that I couldn't push it.
Thank you for sharing that. So for those new to my work or who don't know these terms, containment, there's many ways that we teach that in SmartBody SmartMind, but it could be just gentle touch to the arms. It could even just be holding a wrist. But it's really talking to the internal tissues that have been braced, tight, shut down. And then within those, when you start to open them up, there is all the emotion, the pain, the feeling of being abandoned, the unsafety. And then you had your pooch with you, and your pup knew exactly what you needed, and you just were able to let this out and trust it. So that's great. And then what you said about the Feldenkrais work, again, those who are new might not know what is that? It's the more gentle movements, very awareness-based movements, but it is a little higher brain. and it requires a bit more thinking and imagining movements. And typically that work is entered into without any preparation, and people just go through it. And as you know, and as you've learned, my learning has taught me that the Feldenkrais work is very advanced, but it's in there because I want you guys to have something to work towards. And I just, again, so good that you're saying it took you that long, and to not discourage people that it can take that long, but that's sometimes how long it takes to get to those more advanced practices that are really subtle, right? They're not like yoga moves where you're standing on your head or anything like that.
But they're very, very subtle, and you were very clear about like the felt sense of safety must come first. And I was in a situation where I was constantly being activated, and that didn't stop until 2017. So I know that if things had been different, I might have arrived there much sooner, but I had to meet life where I was at. And so I took the time it took, and I'm so grateful I did. I think the containment exercise was probably the very first time I had shown my body gentleness.
Yep. And for some people, it was profound. Yeah, I'll share, I was talking with another person on another show, and we were talking about early trauma, pre-verbal trauma, and how this unsafe quality gets infused in us when maybe we weren't in a war zone or we weren't in a car wreck or something, but just how our primary caregiver touches us with their hands. Are they nervous? And I use the example, if you've ever had a really bad nurse try to take blood or do something medical, when their hands touch you, you kind of want to pull away. You know, you don't feel safe if they're a little shaky or they're a little nervous looking. And as an adult, I know my system is a little unsure, but I override it to get the procedure done. But when we're really young and when we're infants, if our primary connection is with a very nervous person, and not because they're trying to be mean to us, but they don't know their own dysregulation, when we do these exercises as adults with it, just, it's like, oh, we maybe have never felt that kind of touch, that care. So my sense is you understand that implicitly as well.
Very much so.
Yeah. You said one thing, Jenn, that I think it'll be helpful for some people. You mentioned that it wasn't until 2017 that things were a little safer for you. And again, you don't need to share the specifics, but sometimes we get questions that say, Irene, I'm still in a abusive environment. I'm still living with parents who don't let me be how I want to be. Can I do this work in that situation? What would be your answer for those folks?
Yes, absolutely. You can still do this work. I don't think I would have handled 2017 very well at all if I hadn't already engaged in this work. Just the number of stressors I was going through, and having a toolkit to handle what I was going through was so important to my healing from everything as well as everything else.
Wonderful. And you took your time.
Because I'm worth it, it turns out.
Yes, you are. Yay. That's so good. And you mean it. I can tell. I can meet, like, you really, it's in your bones. Like, I'm worth it. I deserve it.
And we all do. And I know that to be true as well.
Is there anything like that you would like to share with those watching this, knowing that of course someone might watch this as soon as we put it out, which will be, you know, in February-ish of 2022, but maybe someone's watching this when there isn't an opportunity to start SmartBody SmartMind just because we only open registration once a year. What would be your kind of transmission to those listening who are landing on this right now?
You have such a generous body of work available on YouTube and your PDFs that they're a great place to start because they lay down all the foundational work that this work builds on. And even just starting with orienting, if you do nothing else, if you can orient, then you can orient in the middle of conflict, you can orient in the middle of pain, and that alone will change a person's life.
Beautiful. Thank you. And yes, orienting, again, for those that don't know what that means, it's our special secret lingo, but it's this ability to connect with the present moment, in the now moment, see the space around you. If you just Google, obviously, orienting in my name, and I'll put some links below to some of the videos. You'll find them. And obviously, the audio samplers I have teach that. In the healing trauma video series that you probably watched, and which we're encouraging people to watch, there's going to be a brand new neurosensory exercise that I just recorded last week. So that'll be there for everyone to listen to for free. And then, of course, what are your final words, Jenn, for those who are like on that fence and would like to join SBSM, but they're like, oh my gosh, that's an investment. I'm not sure if I can. And of course, we don't want anybody to not be able to eat food and shelter their children with this. But what's that advice for someone who they know they can do it? It's a bit of a stretch. What would you say?
If you know you can do it, go for it because it'll be the best investment you ever make in your life. It will change your enjoyment of your own life for the better.
I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much for hanging out and talking.
Thank you so much, Irene. You really have made such an enormous difference in my life and as a result in the lives of people around me. And I am able to show up every day and help other people because you helped me.
Thank you. And one day I'm going to visit you in PEI because I would love to go there and get in that garden with you. So we'll make a date when that can happen.
I would love that.